Welcome back to Featured, right here on the Wireless. And joining me today, we've got one of the singers from the band December Streets. Good morning, Tristan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very good. Melting here in the weather in the Cape, but otherwise can't complain.
That's
How are
the
you?
that I'm all right. That weather's complete opposite to what we've got going today, but it's nice to take a quick break from the warm weather, I think.
It's,
So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right back to over a decade ago to where it all began, just after Local Authority, which I believe was your first punk band. How did you land on the current name December Streets?
so that's quite a funny story from the evolution of local authority, which was a high school band. We were all learning to play our instruments and kind of understand what it means to be in a band. And like you said, it was a lot more punk rock. So
Mm-hmm.
anything go, just getting your teen angst out, smashing your guitar and shouting vocals. And then as we evolved, I got to varsity and I met the initial formation of what was the start of December Streets through some musical projects at the University of Pretoria. And we started off, in fact, the formation of December Streets. We called ourselves Crimson King,
Okay.
which we thought was quite a cool name. And then we got our first gig and we got to the show and we were backstage and the promoter was like, you guys, we're about to get on stage and
Yeah.
like we're about to like launch the band Crimson King. And the guy's like, you know that you guys can't call yourselves Crimson King. There's quite a famous, very famous band called King Crimson. So we're like, oh damn, now now we realize like moments before we go on stage. So they're backstage about 10 years ago. We're just like throwing like blasts, shooting names at each other, trying to, find something that's cool. And the drummer at the time, Daniel, came up with the name. He just shouted the word December Streets, and I looked at him, and I was like, that sounds like it's got a ring. So that's the origin of how we landed, like literally shotgun fire. Last time we annex backstage, we came up with the name December Streets.
And then there were quite a few changes to the early lineup of December Streets. So how did you not give up so early? Because a lot of bands, they crumble in the early stages before they reach their big breakthrough.
Yes. I think that's the key to most success in any walks of life, particularly in music, as you alluded to now, is just that persistence and keeping that hunger and drive to overcome challenges. And it was hard, the initial members, we became brothers, touring the country, playing all the festivals during our varsity days.
Mm-hmm.
And then life, evolves. We get older and careers take off. People wanted to become doctors and architects. And I still wanted to do the music thing very much. It was still a dream that I wanted to chase. So I never let go of that flame, and I never have. And
Yeah.
that's like become a part of my core essence. So while it's very sad that we couldn't continue as the original members, it brought a new, fresher breath of fresh air and musical
Yeah.
taste when the new members joined and new relationships. So yeah, I've just continued from there.
No, most definitely. And then you've cracked the charts with some of your songs like My Name and Fire Through the Window. And then you also signed up with 2 Feet Music. What was that all like?
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. We've been doing this for quite some time, but it was amazing. It's a big validation of the right direction you're going in when a record label wants to sign you, especially in South Africa. So yeah, it was a great experience. It was a chapter in our lives that I look fondly back on. It's got its own tricks and hurdles and difficulties, as with any working relationship. But it was really a massive part of our career and a big chapter of our lives at December Streets. So I enjoyed it.
And then more songs after those were released, they also became successful. The likes of Can You Feel It, Stay By Me, Magic, and then a song that really captured our attention on the wireless called Wild Heart. In particular, that song, talk to us about it.
So Wild Heart is definitely one of my favorite tracks that we've written as well. And I'll tell you before I get into the story of it. Well, let me start with that. The story it was quite a long time ago, so it's hard for me to remember the exact details. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the music that I wrote back then was around relationships, and the struggles of figuring your emotive self out when you're that age. And Wild Heart was about one of the relationships I was in where I kind of didn't feel like I was getting back what I was putting in.
Okay.
And this person that I was seeing had this wild heart, a wild nature that can't be tamed. So that's kind of the essence of the song is around that, just chasing this enigma of sorts
Yeah.
in a relationship. And also it was like a huge part of our career as well, because one of the bands that I looked up to very much and still do, a band called Thief, a South African band.
Mm-hmm.
I just reached out to them and asked them, like, almost, like, didn't think they would respond. And then Andrew responded and said, yeah, he'd love to collaborate on this song. So that was like a huge feather in the cap for me, watching them at Opikopi all the years growing up. So that was a huge achievement, like, for me personally, to
Yeah.
collaborate and write with them. So yeah, that's
And
about it.
and then you've worked with a whole bunch of artists and influencers throughout your career. Who would you most like to collaborate with in the near future?
So I'm very much on the songwriting front. I love writing and producing, not only for my own band, but like other projects and other artists. And I always aspire to. I look up very much to similar artists that can do that. So if you're looking internationally, I would say like Ryan Tedder from One Republic.
Yeah.
He's a huge inspiration. Like he's just a hugely talented human being. So I'd love to just like be even a fly on the wall to see how he works in studio and writes. He's done Adele's music and a whole bunch of huge achievements. So he'd be one. Locally, I saw Sunset Sweatshop
Yeah.
perform. They opened up now for Maroon 5, or they were on the lineup. They were great. I'd
Yeah.
love to collaborate with them. I feel like their energies, it houses a lot of what we had
Yeah.
early days of December. Like that kind of a little bit more free flowing, reggae-ish South African flavor.
Yeah.
So I'd love to collaborate with them because I think we'd like make a nice little gel, like in looking back nostalgically on our early sound as well.
And then you do a lot of touring. So who would you most like to open up for you on one of your future concerts?
Sure. I'm not sure. It's a tough question. I suppose anyone that would want the opportunity enough and like actually use that opportunity as a kickstart. Because I
Yeah.
think I remember early days in my career, you think you've made it when you open up for one of your dream bands, but it's really only just a stepping stone in a long journey of stepping stones. So like anyone
Yeah.
that could like really see, take an opportunity. Not to say that opening for us is a massive opportunity, but it's definitely an opportunity.
Yeah.
So any young aspiring artist that wants this as much as I wanted it, I'd love for them to open for us.
And then the song Last Forever, that was written and released, back in the dark times of 2020. Talk to us about that one.
Yeah, sure. That's a tough one. That was once again, we now finding the common theme and narrative of my songwriting is my relationships. I went through quite a big heartbreak, a betrayal. Like
Mm-hmm.
someone cheated on me, and it was hectic. Like
Yeah.
really shattered my belief in what lasting forever can be,
Yeah.
and like almost this fallacy that we tell ourselves that pure love exists and things like fairy tale love should last forever.
Yeah.
So last forever kind of plays while the song is upbeat and funky, and I love the energy that it brings. And we do this quite a bit. Like the lyrical content is far more. It makes you think. It's
Yeah.
a bit deeper, and it's got this context around betrayal, but also then in the same breath, just not giving up, letting things last forever. So it's kind of like a play off between the two.
And then your sound over the years has been evolving compared to when you start, compared to where you are now. How would you describe the sound currently as the band?
Sure. Someone asked me this the other day, and I can't really pinpoint it. If I had to like generally try and put a sound to it, I'd say indie pop.
Okay.
We've definitely, so we went like from early days, I think first like ska reggae kind of vibe, then we kind of shifted a bit more into the indie rock scene and then more to pop. And now I think more back to indie pop, a blend of all of the above.
I see.
Anything that makes your head bang and sing.
and
Which
then
one would that be?
and then you've been in the industry for a while now, over almost a decade. What advice would you give to someone who's also trying to make a career in music? The if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I knew back now, if that made sense.
Yeah. Um, sure. I can only speak from my own experience, and I wouldn't change it the way that I've done it. I think it's worked out quite nice in a balance of life. I think life is very much about balance,
Yeah.
which you learn later on in life. And if you go into music full time and you make it the one stop, it'll consume you. The same as
Yeah.
any career or any part in life. And I think there's a danger to that as well, because when things are great, they're fantastic. When they're bad, they're really bad.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you can, like, first bit of advice, don't give up. It's the most cliche bit of advice that you always hear.
Yeah.
But the reason you always hear it is because it's true. And like, if you can manage to just keep persevering, you will become a professional in what you're doing. So I would say, because the music industry isn't so lucrative, I would say definitely have two passions.
Yeah.
Find a job, something that excites you during the day, or like, can bring in an income, and then let music be your passion.
Yeah.
But your passion can turn into your career as well at the same time. And like, that's kind of how I did it. And it's just worked out beautifully that way, because you don't have the stresses of life hitting you in the face every day
Yeah.
as hard.
Yeah. And then what has been your highlight of your music journey so far?
Definitely meeting and opening for the Kooks when they came here for the Five Gum experience. They were my biggest inspiration as a band growing up. I know every single lyric of all their songs, and then when we got asked to open for them, like, it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the craziest experience of my life. Like, it's just like two utter unrealities coming together, and like, literal dreams coming true. You're like, no ways.
Yeah.
So like, that was a highlight so far.
And then your album covers, who does the design? How does that all work out?
So that's a combination between myself and Matt in the band. We both have creative backgrounds and careers,
Yeah.
so we usually collaborate. Sometimes, like, so for example, Last Forever, we got a very brilliant friend and artist, Mark Modimola, to kind of come up with that illustration. So when we feel like we want to put some extra effort into it and go beyond our core capabilities, we'll collaborate with certain artists. But other than that, now it's also a bit of AI being thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
It's opened up playing field for a lot of image generation.
Yeah.
And we do. And it's really cool to collaborate with that and kind of experiment. But it's a fine line, because I think people can tell immediately when something is AI generated, and
Yeah.
it becomes a bit taboo-ish. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Most definitely, yes. And then one of your more recent songs you've released, Kickstart. It's quite the upbeat, catchy one. Talk to us about the writing process behind that song.
Sure. So yeah, that was actually a really cool experience. Longtime friend and collaborator Rudolf Willemse, he's a brilliant producer here in the Cape. We met about 10 years ago, and that's when like December Streets really took a turn for the better in sound and like crafting, because we would write these wild melodies and sounds, and he'd just like be the compression,
Yeah.
to kind of limit things, like make it sound polished.
Yeah.
So I went to the studio with him. I mean, we wrote, I think, about 30 beats and ideas.
Okay.
And from that, then Kickstart was the one formation of it. And, started writing on that, top lining melodies. And then the band came and started, we started like riffing guitar solos or guitar riffs. And it kind of like, that's the organic process. Like, it starts with me and Rudolph in the studio getting like a framework of an idea, in
Yeah.
this case, 30. And then we found that Kickstart was the one that we wanted to go further craft. And that kind of just evolves from there.
And then 2024, what can we expect from December Streets this year?
This year, we're going to keep doing what we always do. We have a very exciting song coming out on the 23rd of this month. So that's in 10 days.
Yeah.
We just shot a music video for it, which was amazing. We did it down here in Cape Town, like in the most crazy location.
Yeah.
And I saw the first edit. And this song, dare I say, is the best song that we've ever written. Like,
Okay.
in my opinion, this is by far like set the standard. Like, poof. Like when we wrote it and we tracked it, I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. And it's kind of just the compounding effect of continually writing. And again, going back to the advice to anyone, you have to get good in your craft. And the only way
Yeah.
you do that is by practicing, iterating and iterating.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in a rhythm now where what we're writing, at least for us, and I hope that our fans and people that listen to the music can resonate as well. But for us, it feels like we've gotten into that rhythm now where there's some pure gold
Yeah.
shooting out the speakers, which we're very excited to release now. So
All
that song's
right.
called Ghost. That's
Okay.
coming out now. And then we've got we're going to consistently release a song every 3 months. I know
Okay.
we kind of like do this thing where we write a lot of music and we only release one song a year. And I realized like that's actually not fair to everyone else because I've got
Yeah.
it all on this side. So we're
Yeah.
going to be more consistent. Like our goal is every 3 months dropping a new single. So
Okay.
fans can look out.
And then what I would like you to do is, out of all the songs that December Streets has released or written, I want you to pinpoint your two favorite ones and talk to us about those.
Okay. My favorite is Addie, Never Growing Up. That song, I feel like it didn't get the right click in time and place and, the right time in the sunlight or the spotlight, because that's
Yeah.
honestly the coolest I think that we've ever written. Like, it just feels so good. Every time we play it live, people you see the crowd go like,
Yeah.
and it's just an energy like we love playing. It's got this weirdly nostalgic, beautiful feeling. So Addie is my favorite one to perform. And then Last Forever is also right up there. Like, I think that's also like one of the better songs you've written, and it's got a lot of meaning for me and a lot of hope
Yeah.
in it, and a lot of emotion tied up into it. So I think those two would be my top two songs.
All right. And then just before I let you go, where can we find you on social media and where are we able to stream your music?
Everywhere at December Streets, all over the place. Whatever your preference is on the digital platforms and the interwebs, you can find us at December Streets or December Streets.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on Featured today just to chat to us about, some of your past songs, what you got planned for 2024. And you've set high standards. You said it's your best song that's coming out next week. So we're going to hear what that's like.
I think so. Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
No, it's only a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheerio.